Good morning, mums. How are you? I hope you're having a great day. It's Take Care Tuesday, and I wanted to use this opportunity to do my first live. So here I am, live on this group, and to share with you some thoughts and insights I've had over the last few days regarding working mums, and specifically mums that may be increasing their days at work or returning to work after a break. So a few people in my life recently have decided to increase their days at work, say from 3 to 5. Some people are returning to work after maternity leave. Some people are changing roles at work, or all the kids are back at school, all in school, and they're now deciding that they've got time and they would like to take up working again. So these are all great and unique opportunities, and also time for self-development and personal growth, and many opportunities will come your way as a result of taking those opportunities. There's also some really important things to consider. And what I feel and I find most often is that we go into these new things with a slight element of naivety about us, and there's nothing wrong with being naive. That's how we learn. But equally, as someone who is a bit older and have made mistakes about what I took on, when I took on, and what impact it had on me, I've learned some really, really valuable lessons, and I like to, when I can, share those lessons. So let me kind of take you through a few, and I've just jotted a couple of notes for myself. So one of the biggest things is, when it comes to being a working mum, is the logistics of all of this day-to-day running around that we do. So dropping off at school, and that might mean multiple drop-offs for some people, daycare, school, kindergarten. You know, I know some mums that have more than one drop-off every day, and the logistics of that is straining. Also, you need to be really super organised. And shopping is another thing that involves logistics. When you're going to do your shopping for the week, when you're going to do your cooking, your washing for the week, all of these little logistical things, are in a big bowl of soup, and, you have to keep mixing the soup to figure out the best way of doing things and how to save time, how to avoid constant duplication of tasks, and how to be most efficient. Because if you're super efficient, then the logistics will run that little bit smoother, because on any given day, it's likely that you're going to have a hurdle or an obstacle or a challenge come up, or something hold you up, and then you lose time, or you're struggling for time, and you then instantly become stressed. The other thing that is to be mindful of is the money side of things. So it's very exciting and interesting to think, I'm going to earn loads more money. And I made this mistake when I went back to work after my firstborn, thinking I could go back and do the exact same job I was doing before, which had a lot of pressures, responsibilities, and a lot of people depending on me, because I was driven to make the same money that I had made before I had my child. Money is always an attractive thing for us to want to attain. But there is a cost. The cost of going out there and making as much money as you can will ultimately impact other areas of your life. And the biggest thing it will impact is your health, because when you're driven by money, there's a cost, and the cost of that is generally your health and your well-being and your self-care. And self-care is really important, because if you're working more than, let's say, 2 to 3 days a week, but you're still, the person who's responsible for looking after the family, primarily running the household, your time to practice self-care is going to be less and less and less and less and less, to the point where all of a sudden you're going to look around and think, okay, I haven't, my cup is empty, I'm drained, I'm burnt out. And we all know that one of the things that happens is when kids start at new schools or new daycares or new kindies, everybody gets ill for the first few weeks of the year. So we need to kind of start, think about all those things in advance and find ways to kind of protect ourselves against them by, building our resilience, building our immune system, having a logistical plan, thinking about what is your self-care that you're going to continue to practice when you go back to work. So a friend of mine is studying and going to start work 5 days next week. And I phoned her yesterday and I said, right, let's have a pep talk. What are you doing about your shopping? I'm going to get home delivery. Okay, great. What are you doing about keeping the house clean? Can you get a cleaner to come, for the next few weeks until you're all settled back into work 5 days? Yes, possibly. Can you pick up and drop off responsibilities? Yes. Are you going to be sat at your desk for 9 hours a day being very sedentary? Well, I can go for a walk during, breaks, and I'll walk to the coffee shop, and I'll, do a Pilates, half an hour Pilates class at lunch. Okay, great. So go into next week thinking about all those things, have a plan, and set an intention that they're going to happen. Because if you go into next week and you're not prepared to do all of that stuff, you're going to come unraveled quite quickly. So we talked that through, and just to try and encourage and motivate the person to really think about, the challenges that might come up and how to get around them. Very quickly we think, oh, okay, I'm going to work 5 days, I've got kids at school, and then something will happen. A family member will get sick, a crisis will come up, we could be faced with flood or fire. We just don't know. We have to have resilience inside ourselves that enables us to then react and adapt to these changing circumstances in any given day. Because and one way to do that is to have boundaries, and to have very good self-care where you're prioritizing your self-care and also setting very clear boundaries. So what I do is maybe draw a circle on the table and decide, okay, in the center of that table, these are all the things I must have in my life. I must have my friendships, I must have my relationships, I must have my children's activities. But set a limit to what can go into the circle. And then you can start to prioritize and take things out. Okay, well, maybe we won't do that. Maybe that person I can only see once a month. Maybe I'll set a plan to talk to that person every 3 months instead of every 2 months. And so really look at your life and decide, what elements are essential to be in your circle and what elements can sit on the periphery of your circle, and to be brought in and out as and when you have time. That's not to say you're going to dismiss people, but it's more that you're deciding, okay, what's in your essential basket of life and what sits on the periphery of your life. Because you will find if you're giving and giving and giving at work, and you're needed a lot at work, and then you come home from work and you're needed a lot at home, you're going to get burnt out and you're going to get resentful very, very quickly. And that's a place that you don't want to go to, because once you get burnt out and once you get resentful, it actually takes a lot more work to bring you out of that than it does to set up good boundaries and working practices in the first place. Another thing about going back to work, which I find as well and did find for my personal physical health, is that if you become sedentary for 8 to 9 hours of the day, you're less inclined to then want to move your body in the evening when you're home from work. So you sit on your butt all day at work, and then you're tired and you think, oh, I'm tired. Now I'll make unhealthy choices. I'll reach for a glass of wine. I'll reach for some chocolate. I'll have my dinner later in the evening once the kids are in bed, or I'll get takeaway tonight. So we start making lots of unhealthy choices in our life, and trying to limit those unhealthy choices but by setting up some good foundations is kind of key. Because if you find yourself reaching for the wine and the chocolate on a daily or a consistent basis, that's actually going to have a detrimental impact to your well-being as well. So just be mindful of that sedentary nature of working, and think about, okay, how am I going to move through the day? What am I going to do when I get home to keep my body moving? What time am I going to have my last meal of the day? What time am I going to have my first meal of the day? Because that also plays a massive role in your metabolism and how you feel and the energy that you have. And look at your help and support network, because working full-time as a mum, when children are full-time jobs, having a full-time job is, multiple full-time jobs, physically can't do it all. So what are some little things that you can do in your life that can take off a little bit of the pressure? So is it family support? Is it home delivery, shopping, or click and collect? Is it cleaner on a short or a long-term basis? Is it friends? Is it utilizing OSH at school 1 or 2 afternoons a week so that you can actually get chores and jobs done without the added pressure of, dragging the kids with you? And really just think of the money side of things and the going back to work is, what will this cost me? What is the long-term cost of these decisions that I'm making? Because if you want to future-proof yourself, if you want to build resilience, if you want to be able to sustain the energy in order to give the best back to your family, you really need to be asking yourself that big question, what will this cost me? And that's fundamentally. And I don't mean that in a negative way, because there's not always, a negative cost to things, but you're going to have to give up something. Last night, I wrote a little note in my journal that when you're trying to achieve success in one area of your life, other areas of your life will get messy. And the important thing is not to leave those other areas of your life messy for too long, but to get back there as quickly as you can and tidy them up. Because if you leave them messy for a long period of time, you're not going to have the energy to go back and do them. And then those areas will stay messy. And let's face it, jobs come and go, relationships come and go. Unfortunately, tragic things happen. So we need to guard against those as much as we can. And really, my final message for you today is to be your own hero. Because if you're not your own hero, then no one's going to step up and be a hero for you. So really think about how you're going to be a hero for yourself, how you're going to take care of yourself. What logistical plan you're going to put in place that gives you freedom and flexibility to build in some time for yourself. And really, is the money the be all and end all when it comes to, the life choices that you make? So good luck. I hope that's useful for you. It's certainly been useful guiding my decisions over the last few years and deciding how I want to live my life. So I hope it's been beneficial for you, and take care and have a great Tuesday. Thanks. Bye.